Welcome back to the Dev Pod. Firstly, thank you so much to everyone for your feedback and the messages that we got. We're extremely grateful, and we're delighted that some people were able to relate to everything that we were talking about. Today, we're speaking about stress, speaking about what it is, our experience and expertise, talking about being present, learning more about yourself and gaining self-awareness. So towards the end of the week, we will throw up a Q&A on Instagram or across our socials, and you'll have the opportunity to pop in any messages or any topics that you want us to talk about in the next episode, and we'll get back to them as soon as we can. Let's get on.
So when we start off, right, so what actually is stress, okay? Because stress can be so many different things depending on whether it's stress from, I suppose, an actual physical stress or a mental stress. So the actual definition of stress can be a state of worry or mental tension caused by a difficult situation, okay? So it's a natural response that prompts us to address things or address a threat or any experience that you go through, right? So we spoke a little bit on it in the last podcast, and especially when you're dealing with so many people with both of our jobs. Greg's a teacher, I'm a PT, we're both football coaches, I'm a neuromuscular therapist. You're dealing with people all the time, so you're seeing people's characters coming in chat all the time. Now, it was introduced to me about 2-3 years ago about cortisol individuals and adrenaline individuals. So everyone has traits of both, okay? So a cortisol individual would be someone who would be probably the overthinker. They have loads of traits. It would be the overthinker, the kind of warrior. When something happens to them, they would probably shell up and so on. And the adrenaline would be the opposite. They would be probably the go-getter in life. They'd be really aggressive. They'd be probably a little bit more angry when a situation happens, when they get into that fight or flight state. But the problem is people get stuck in these states. So whether you're a cortisol individual, you get stuck in that fight or flight state, or if you're adrenaline individual, you get stuck in that state. So it's all about finding a balance. But like I was saying, is everyone's job is absolutely hectic these days, and we mentioned it in the last podcast as well. It's just about slowing down that little bit. Stop the treadmill is what we used the last day. Is just slow down and actually realize what is going on in your life. Okay, so people are living in a trance, as we call it. So same thing is going on every day. It's like Groundhog Day, and you're constantly in that fight or flight state. So you're constantly stressed, you're constantly worrying, and we're constantly burning out. So me personally, I would be a high adrenaline individual. So it has a massive effect on your energy. Okay, and energy is absolutely everything, because your energy will go down to even your appetite. It will go down to your ability to even get up in the morning. So I would go through phases, and Greg has gone through phases as well, where you're so driven to get something done. It might be in school, work, whatever it is. It could be sport. It was definitely sport for me when I was growing up, but I didn't care about nothing else. The head was down, and I just go. And there would always be a stage where you just burn out. Just completely burn out. And you've absolutely nothing left to give. And you're absolutely goose for maybe a week or two, and so on. So you would analyse these little traits in people when they come in and you see them, especially after eye contact or even the way they hold their body language. So that would be a massive thing, and we both would have experienced different things with that. So especially with that, you would see people come in to schools. You definitely see it in schools. Some people coming in really anxious, wouldn't you?
Yeah, 100%. And I think something just to comment on that is, this isn't about demonizing a certain type of person. This is about self-awareness. As I mentioned in the opening, it's about just starting to see, right, which one would I be? And identifying, right, I react a certain way to things. Is this a positive or negative reaction? Is this working for me, or is it working against me? And I think, like Cormac, you have a lot of experience with people coming into you and it being a direct correlation with injury.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the way you think affects everything. Like, and I think you can kind of elaborate more on that. But just even with people that come in with you for therapy or for physio or anything like that, is there any cases or is there any generalizations that you can make that the way someone thinks and the way someone reacts to certain traumas or anything that happens in their life directly affects their well-being?
Definitely. So like even my own example, when I was playing at one of my previous clubs, I was fighting with the manager and we had an argument, and like I said, I'd be a high adrenaline individual, and certain injuries or certain areas of the body would be linked to high adrenaline individuals and similar to cortisol. So when I was fighting with that manager, I would go out to training and I'd have a point to prove and I'd be angry going into the session, but my calves and my Achilles would feel like it's going to rip off the bone. It would feel like it's going to snap. Same with your hamstring and so on. It's all linked together. It's the same with the cortisol individuals. They would shell up, so all the deep flexors of the body. So if you cough right now, as you're listening to this podcast, if you cough, what contracts? What muscles contract? It's your abs. You go into that fetal position where you get as small as possible and so on. And there are different areas that you'd have to treat. It's almost like a startle reflex. So those would be things, I suppose, would be highly linked to the emotions of people. And like I said, it's not I suppose, being too negative with people, and I'm not trying to be negative, but it's just traits that we see, and it's just getting you to be conscious of them so we can go, right, this is what's going on, and then we go on and we address them, and you find your balance, and then when these things happen again, you don't react that way. You have that balance. So
you're addressing certain traits, and so you're addressing things that might not be working for you.
Correct.
And that's exactly what you're trying to do. You're trying to turn it and say, this is happening. Mm-hmm. How can we turn that reaction into something that will work for you? Like, really.
100%. And then when we think about it, we say, what's causing all these reactions? So like, people are coming in and they have self-limiting beliefs. They have fear of what? It could be fear of absolutely anything. It could be from past trauma at home. It could be past trauma from even a car crash. It could be their personality, but why is their personality that way? And you said a lot. You're a product of your circle, aren't you? It's a big thing for people, isn't it?
How you thinking the people around you? Two massive things. Whether you're your best friend or your worst enemy, and whether the people around you are really there for you or if they're there for themselves.
Exactly.
They're two massive things that you can judge someone off. Something that I see from my own experience with, whether it be kids through coaching, whether it be teaching, whatever it may be, but just based on my experience, what I can make a general comment around the kids that have that outsource. They have that outlet of, might be, for us it was soccer, and for a lot of people listening, they might be joining and listening because they're soccer people too, so you might be able to relate to it. For someone else, it might be going to the gym, anything, walking, whatever it is. You need something that just puts you in that flow state that we were speaking about the last day.
Correct. That's
the thing that's going to take you just away to a different place altogether. And the two of us definitely, and I know I can speak for you with this, was, as soon as you have a ball at your feet, nothing else matters.
Correct.
As soon as you walk over the line, it's like, right, I can forget about absolutely everything that is happening. Mm-hmm. But again, how you think then is influencing what's happening. So if you're going into a challenge and you're, let's say, cortisol, someone that's highly impacted by cortisol, you might go into a challenge and flex up, and that's how the injuries happen. I think people have come into you with that before, have they?
Massively. And I think when you really become conscious of this stuff, you can change your life really in a sense. Now people think that I'm a madman at the start when it's all new to them, because they're going, how has this got? It actually got said to me the other day. It said, what has this got to do with fixing my back? And I'm like, just take a breath now and actually just trust me, because when you do all of this, and it's happened in the past, when they actually buy into it and they actually try it, they're really surprised how much of a difference it actually does make. So especially with school or a lot of the kids' parents who would come into me and they'd say, "Oh, my son or daughter is suffering with anxiety," and they may get panic attacks or so on. But when you really, really break it down, okay, so anxiety is just a state. It's a state. It's not I suppose, an emotion. So there's 9 actual emotions, okay? So the 9 emotions, right, is either love, laughter, sorrow, anger, courage, terror or fear, disgust, surprise or wonder, or peace and tranquility, okay? So they would be our 9 main emotions, okay? Now, all of the 5 major negative emotions would be anger, sadness, fear, hurt, or guilt, right? So when you actually break that down, right, and you're saying, what's he talking about? They're all actual emotions that cause us to fall into that state of anxiety, to let us fall into that overthinking state. And you're saying, right, okay, I'm understanding what's causing that anger, whatever it is. It might be someone's that's just annoying you at work, annoying you in your class, whatever it is. But you have to recognize it. You have to take time, maybe a bit of silence at home or in the car or whatever it may be, and just write it down. Maybe you might just visualize it and so on. So these are all things you just have to recognize. Now, once you recognize them, you're saying, how do I go and deal with them? Now, I coach people online also. So when I'm coaching people online, especially the injury clients who would be chronic, they would be doing something with me called timeline therapy. So I came across timeline therapy actually on YouTube. I done a short NLP course. So NLP is neuro linguistic programming. So it's all about our language and the way we communicate. But when you actually break it down, it's really, really powerful if you use it in the right way. So it basically teaches you a collection of techniques that you allow yourself to gain emotional control over your life. So if you have emotional reactions such as like bursts of anger, which I would definitely have had at certain points, but it's other people, it might be depression, it might be sadness, it might be that anxiety or chronic fear, whatever it may be, and then we end up with our panic attacks and so on, right? So you can use different techniques. I won't go into it now because you could nearly do a podcast in itself on that, but it's
things how you react, really, isn't it? It's down to your reactions to an event that happens, whether it's been your past or in the present moment.
Exactly. So it's all things like when people go, I'll never be rich, or I'd never be able to do that job. But why? And something might have happened because there was a point in your life where you didn't think like that. There was a point, and when you think back, there was a point where you didn't know how to drive a car. And that was a fear for you at some stage. But there was a point where you didn't care about that fear of driving the car or riding your bike or whatever it is. But it's all about really, really visualizing those moments. And you use a technique called anchoring also to really, really visualize, I suppose, better perceptions. So
it's like going back to thinking as a child, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like when they say go back and imagine you are a child. Imagine you when you were 8 or 9 years of age. You thought you could do anything.
Exactly.
Absolutely anything. And
exactly.
That's what people fail to bring into their teenage years and their 20s. And we can't speak for the people that go on past it, but I think a lot of people that we've been in contact with, they start to, as you said, have those self-limiting factors and, geez, I could never do that. Or a lot of people say that to us. I could never deal with kids.
100%.
Or I could never do this or never do that. And just stop saying that.
Correct.
Stop saying something to yourself that you could never do something. Because it's the more things you say like that to yourself, the longer you'll believe it.
Yeah.
The more likely you are to believe it, and it'll just start to be a mentality at some stage.
And all of this spirals off, doesn't it? Like we all experience every single emotion that I would have mentioned there, right? So recently enough also, and good and bad, we will experience those emotions, but you're trying to stop it from being a roller coaster all the time, going up and down and up and down and up and down. You want to be on that upward spiral. So like when people, I suppose, are in a rut in life, which happens quite often, and we'll stay on topic as best we can because we want to nail this one, is boredom splits the scale. So when you're bored in life, you're often like you end up being frustrated and worried and disappointed, and then you start doubting yourself, and then you get angry because you're doubting yourself, and it all works its way down into a state of fear or a state of depression, and you end up with this victim mentality. And when you feel sorry for yourself, you have that victim mentality. But what you want to be is you want to be optimistic. So we're trying to change people's perception to work its way back up the spiral into that enthusiastic person that's passionate. When you find that why in your life, which we spoke about in the last podcast, which luckily we found so far, and then you end up in that state of joy and empowerment, and you just appreciate what you're doing, you're proud of yourself, and that's the state you want to be in as much as you can in your life, because you're in that flow state. And look, there's loads we can touch on, but even things people don't even realise what's going on. So colours for businesses, we would have picked red and white. So red and white would be, I suppose, a passionate colour in a business sense when you think of logos. So when you think of logos, you get different vibrations of people. So the people who are kind of stuck in their life and they're kind of, I suppose, just going through the motions, they're stuck in that trance like we spoke about earlier. If you think about the McDonald's M, so it's yellow. So that would be very closely related to the people stuck in a trance. So they're drawing those people in all the time. But when you think about it, it's really processed food. It's not very healthy. So why would they aim for the people who are at the top of the scale? They would aim for the people at the bottom of the scale, and so on. So without realising it, when I started this mid-core coaching crack, I would have picked red and white. And Greg was quite happy to stay with the red and white. So we stuck with it, but I didn't realise it. And when I became conscious of this stuff, then we were absolutely flying. So it's a massive, massive thing. And we just want to help people find their balance. And I think, what do you think? If you had to choose your circle and learn from your mistakes, what advice would you give to people?
Jeez, that's a big one. I think just to comment on the spiral and that boredom factor.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the exact pivotal moment that you need to catch someone, do you know? And I think it's very interesting when you link that, especially to young people, and any young people that parents would have sent us a message from the first one. Now this one's for you, and it's definitely, that's the exact spiral moment where people start to pick up their phone.
Yeah.
And you pick up your phone, and I'm not even going to put a number on it, but a very high percentage of things that come up in your phone are negative.
Correct.
I do my best to control anyone that I follow or anyone that I'm in contact with or anything like that, but if there's any piece of advice I had for a young person, old person, any age, would be reduce your screen time. And I say it to students and I say it to kids the whole time that I come in contact with or I coach. If you're on your phone for 4 hours a day, okay, a lot of people are. 4 hours a day by 7 days a week is 28. We'll round it off, we call it 24 hours. So 1 out of 7 days of the week is you're on your phone. Like, forget about sleep. 24 hours straight out of 7 days you're on your phone. And when you look at the bigger scale, that's a year. Every 7 years you've spent 1 full year on your phone. That's mad.
So it's all about getting back control, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
and being
100%.
ruthless with your circles. So if you have to I suppose, get rid of people out of your life, and it changes for you as you're getting older. And look, we've only been in the world so many years so far, so we'll probably keep learning with it. But I think it's just about being conscious of this stuff, and hopefully this has made people a little bit more conscious to think that a little bit more deeply, and try and better yourself in life. That's, again, whole reason why we're doing this is to help people improve in life, help people better themselves. And luckily we've came across this quite early in life, so we've experienced it a little bit, and hopefully we can do our best to help others when we're doing it.
What's your advice for someone that is listening to this and they're struggling? They're in a situation, they might be struggling with something. They might be going through anxiety, depression. They might just be sad overall.
Okay.
Any advice for them?
So, I think the first thing you have to do before you absolutely do anything is find yourself a little bit of silence. And a little bit of silence on your own, in my opinion, forces you to listen to the voice in your head. Now, when you're in that state of anxiety or that state of depression or whatever it may be, okay, it could be sadness, you could be after going through a breakup, it could be something happened, whatever it may be. I think you need to almost listen to the voice in your head to become conscious of how negative it probably is when you're in that state, I think. And then once you realise it, you kind of have to go, oh my God, I'm actually, what am I actually doing? Why am I, like, most of us have probably been at a point where probably felt sorry for yourself over something. Something happened maybe in school, I don't know what it might have done, but I think when you feel sorry for yourself, it gets to the point where you have to pick yourself back up, or you can just stay there. So are you going to stay stuck in a rut, or are you going to go and do something about it? Yes, it's not easy, but I think when you sit and you actually listen to the voice in your head, there's a lot of people run away from that silence because it's scary. Scary to listen to what's going on in your head. Scary to listen to what's actually going on or realise actually what's going on. And when you actually just face it head on, that's basically what it is. You kind of have to face it head on. And then what kind of action are you going to take? So I think if you take a little bit of action, so it might be writing stuff down. So write down all the negative stuff that you may feel. So think about every single emotion you may have. So it might be worry, and then when you might write fear, you might write anger, and then with those little bubbles, right, you could spiral off into that. So why do you get so angry? Okay, so it might be my ex-partner used to make a comment about me all the time about my weight, and that drives me absolutely insane. It makes me so angry, and I'm so angry that I didn't take ownership and I didn't say something at the time, and that is boiling my blood. It could be I have a fear to get into another relationship, or I have a fear to go back into my match after getting a really, really bad injury because I might have broke my leg 6 months ago, whatever it may be.
Or go to the gym.
Exactly. So the gym is a very scary place for a lot of people, and you would see first time comers to the gym, and it's very, very scary for them. And that's why I think with the gym staff, you have to be really, really welcoming to people, because you got to show them around the gym. If you go to the gym for the first time and it might be a big gym, it's scary, and you often see people and they get stuck to the treadmill. They go for a walk and they get out of there again because they're too afraid to go over to the dumbbells. I remember being too afraid to touch the free weights, and I used to just stick to machines. But I used to wait till absolutely everyone's gone out of the gym, the quiet gym, and then you go over and you test the dumbbells and you haven't a clue what you're doing. But it's a little bit of trial and error. But if someone was there to kind of show you and talk you through it and things, and make you realise that it's nothing actually to be afraid of, then you mightn't have to go through that phase, you know. So I try and push people to learn from other people's mistakes as well as their own. But the more you learn from other people's mistakes, I think you kind of speed yourself up in life, don't you? So
100%. I think advice that I'd have for someone would be make a decision.
Yeah.
And by making no decision at all, this is what happens a lot in today's world, is people make no decision.
Mm-hmm.
But that itself is a decision. If I decide not to take action on something, that's a decision. There's no neutral in this. You either do something about it or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
If you fail to act on it, you've not made a decision. So making a decision and making a call to say, right, I'm going to do something about it or not. Like, obviously I'd push you towards the making a call on something, but just be present and just say, is this thing serving me? No. Can I do something about it? Yes. What can I do about it? Go down that route. You know, instead of, as you said a while ago, cortisol, just shelling up and just avoiding like the plague. I don't want to know about it. and that's again builds up in trauma and time and stuff like that. It builds into a deeper rooted issue. But yeah, I think being present is probably the second thing, and just realizing that things don't happen overnight. People's, like, if you're going up the stairs at home, you don't just start at the end and leap to the top step. Do you know? Every single person starts at the bottom step, and then you go to the next one, to the next one, to the next one. You build up and you build up. Even just any brand or any business or anyone, built from nothing, and it just was something that you built over time. And that's exactly what we're trying to do with this podcast, with coaching, with anything. Is it step by step by step? And if you look at that in terms of life, because I think a lot of today's world, and I would have been fallen victim to it as well, is comparing yourself to people on, whether it be Instagram or whatever it may be, and you're comparing your chapter 1 to their chapter 20. You're comparing your step 1 to their step 20. Each step might be 6 months. They're just a couple of years ahead of you, but all of a sudden you're a failure because you're not a millionaire, or you're not out in Dubai posting pictures. You just cannot see from the side of their phone. And I think that's a massive issue, is just, and again, that goes back to controlling your environment, controlling the people you follow, is you can't be following every single Joe over in Dubai that's making 20 grand a month. Do you know what I mean? And like, no wonder you feel like a failure. Like,
but even the perception of these people, because when you don't stop to actually think, you can't realise this stuff is going on, because a lot of these people, and with walking in the gym is funny, because you see the true character of some of these people. You see their Instagram, and then you see the real person, and you see their Instagram, and they might have 10, 11, 12,000 followers on Instagram, and they're posting all these videos from Marbella or wherever they are, and then they come into the gym and they can't even buy the bottle of water out of the fridge. Now, I do not judge people off the money they have, and neither does Craig. We do not care about that, but the perception is you go and you
put out an image as if you have it. Like,
exactly, yeah, and you meet a young fella, and that young fella is comparing,
idolising it. Yeah.
Idolising that person, and that young fella feels like a failure when he looks at the Instagram of that person, just because they think that it's good for their business to put that out there, or they got given a jumper and they go into the forest and they take a photo of it and post it, and all of a sudden they're a brand ambassador for whoever it is, whatever it may be, and that young fella might absolutely feel like an absolute failure, even though all he has to do is just stay in his own lane. He's going in the right direction. But it's just, I think when you control your circle and you are very conscious and you think a little bit deeper, then I think you start to realise this stuff, and it won't bother you, you know. And I do think that when you start to slow down just that tad bit, I think you become very aware of things going on around you. I think, in my opinion.
100%. Right, next one. Is there any advice in regards to something to do? So, someone's listening to this right now. I'm stressed, I'm depressed, I'm very sad. What exactly do I do?
Get up off the couch, and that would be the first thing. Get up off the couch, right? So imagine you're after doing that first task that I said. You're after becoming conscious of all these things. Why are you worrying? Why are you angry? So on. Okay? Then, now we get up. Go for a walk, go for a run, go to the gym, whatever it may be, right? Face the fear head on. Might be the fear of the gym, might be the fear of whatever. Okay? Go out, meet people. You mightn't even want to talk to anyone. Just go out, get a bit of fresh air, because that gives you a little bit of clarity. Now, everything you wrote down on that sheet of paper, okay, and if you like, you could pause this as you go and follow along with it with your sheet of paper and your pen, but flip everything on its head, okay? So you might flip that fear to optimism, okay? So what is the best thing that can happen rather than the worst thing that's going to happen? And you're flipping everything on its head, it becomes way more positive, and I think then all of a sudden our perception becomes different in life, you know? So everything in life is perception. That's what an argument is. If I have a perception of life and Greg's is different, then that's pretty much what an argument is, isn't it?
Cool, interesting. And I think something that kind of comes to my mind is we sometimes we don't realize how hard something actually is. Like,
Yep.
even just saying, "Oh, get up off the couch." So
Mhm.
like that's a very easy thing for us.
Mm-hmm.
For someone else, it's not. Like, there's people that listen to this that aren't listening to this. Getting up off the couch is so difficult, even just to get up out of bed in the morning.
Mhm.
And I think to give that person some advice is break it down to the smallest action
Mhm.
that can go in the right direction. So instead of saying, "I'm not going to get up today, I'll get up once." Instead of going running a marathon, right, can I go for a 3-minute walk? Can I just get outside the house and walk back in? Do you know? That kind of links to getting better every day, and it's like, right, I walked 5 minutes today. Like, and you get it in the gym a lot, no doubt, but it's just about taking the initial step and building on it from there. Again, exactly what we're doing right now. We're not podcasters, like, we're not, like,
No.
you know?
No.
We're just trying something. And
It's
I
a
think
little win,
sometimes
isn't
you
it?
just need to, absolutely, you just need to start gaining wins. And wins can be as small as putting your 2 feet on the floor when you get out of bed to finishing that marathon.
Mhm.
You know? And I think it's really just breaking it down to step one.
And then I think when you link all that back, right? So when someone online does a check-in, and check-ins can become very, very negative for people, especially if they're an injury one. They're so negative because I'm still in pain, but they're forgetting that when they came in on their first day, they mightn't have been able to even bend over to put on their shoes. But now they're walking or they're running and they still have a pain in their back a little bit, but it's after improving so much that they're able to go for a run. And you forget that that's a massive, massive win for people, but we're so focused on the negative that if we flip our perception in the language that we use in our head, then I think that'll really, really flip people's perception and we start feeling better. You know, that feeling when you're in that flow state, you're not thinking about the negatives. You're thinking about the best thing, that goal you're going to score in your game, or I don't know, it could be music for some people, it could be absolutely anything. But when you start doing that, you feel so much different and your breathing gets better. Because breathing is really, really important. When you're stressed, you cannot think and breathe at the same time effectively. So think about the next time you're in the car and you start visualizing something that stressed you out at work or stressed you out at school. Realize you're shallow breathing or you're holding your breath. So all it takes is a big, huge, deep breath, and it's like almost a sigh. So it's like a reset breath. A couple of times a day and you'll be surprised what happens, even to your skin. So it's just about letting go and becoming conscious again and being present in it.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of ideas for someone that wants some literally what step to do now.
So
You got your journaling.
Mhm.
Write down 1 page of what you're thinking in the
Correct.
evening. You've got your physical activity in some form. Right. What can every single person do?
walk. Not always walk. Okay. What else could we do? Just get out of bed. We could literally, it could be only a walk from the bed to the bathroom. Could be that simple. Okay. It could be step outside your front door, step outside your back door. Just literally get out of your house. Okay. Do something that you like. And I suppose another thing would be get out of your comfort zone. Okay. Because it's very hard to grow when you're comfortable, isn't it? You cannot grow when you're comfortable. Like this podcast for us is so outside of our comfort zone, it's frightening. You don't even realise. We wanted to keep it off the cuff just so you can resonate that how awkward it is for us. And it's funny, we're sitting in a car recording this. We sit in the car because we wanted it off the cuff as much as possible, and it's just we're both well able to speak in front of people, but it's different when you throw a camera in front of yourself or a mic, or it's different. So we're out of our comfort zone here, but that's gonna teach us a lot about ourselves, I think.
Yeah, and that's the bit of inspiration for someone else.
Uh-huh.
Is like, you're not going to be good at something when you started.
No.
Ronaldo wasn't Ronaldo. Well, he was, but he wasn't the Ronaldo he is now
Mm-hmm.
when he started. Do you know? You cannot start something and be the best at it straight away. So I think having that bit of patience with yourself is very important.
So, can stress ever have a positive impact on our life?
I think so. Absolutely. I think stress is necessary, but a certain level of stress. I think as soon as it goes over a certain line, you can see the negative impacts of it. That's when it starts to turn negative. But you need a certain amount of stress to get you up off the couch, for example, get you to do the things that you're supposed to do every day, get you to do those things that you need to get out of your comfort zone, for example. Like, there's a certain amount of stress to everything, that you do.
What about even fear? So you're after experiencing a fear of failing. So what kind of impact do you reckon that'll have on a young fella,
On a young fella, there's
for example?
there's a fear of failure is such a limiting thing, like, isn't it?
Mm.
And it's something that it's almost drilled into us, drilled into everyone.
It's a very Irish
It's
thing.
like, it is, isn't it?
It's a fear of not having a job when you get out of the leaving cert, or
Yeah.
and as time is progressing, it's a not going to college thing. I think is because it used to be have to get your leaving cert, because fellas used to drop out of school and do a trade or whatever they made out. But I was like, in school, from what I remember, you see it more than me because you're in school, but they say like, oh, you have to get the points for this, or
Yeah.
points for that, and you build up this fear in your head. But I think if you have a fear, then someone's going to react one or two ways. I suppose they're either going to go, right, this is my fear, I'm going to work as hard as I can for it to not happen, or you're going to shut up and you're going to let it crumble, yeah, and then the fear kind of takes over, yeah. But what would you see in school, say, especially with the older kids you'd have?
That's a positive stress. I
Positive
think even
stress.
when you look at that one there now, and you look at the two different types of people, the person that takes that stress and turns it into a, geez, I better get studying. Like, to a certain extent, that's a good thing, like,
Mhm.
that you're getting a positive stress and you're saying, right, this is really pushing me to become a better person and the person that's able to get X amount of points or whatever, which is a good thing. But obviously there's those people that they're just not aiming for something like that.
Mhm.
I have told my story in the last one about not getting the points for my course, and just having that open-mindedness to say, right, regardless, I'll make it work.
Yeah.
Do you know? And not putting it down to if you get X amount of points, or, oh, it'll never go right for me, I'll never get a job, or I'll never do any good, or my parents will never be proud of me, or anything like that. It falls into, again, another spiral, doesn't it?
I think you're onto something there, because whether you fail or whether you succeed, is there ever a failing after? Because I think it's just a change in path, to change your decision into something different. So, like, right, you didn't get your leaving cert, for example, but that gives you a different decision. Do you go and do a course to get your equivalent of a leaving cert, or do you go off working, or whatever it may be? But just never let it become you. You know, it's like pain. When people come in with an injury, don't let the pain become you. It becomes people's personality of back pain. Sometimes you ever meet an older person, how you keeping? My back is ghost. It's the first thing they ever say. And it's only asking how you are, man. You know, kind of a thing. It's the same when it comes to jobs or life. Don't let it become you. It's not your whole being. There's more to life. You know, like, I would have probably had a fear of not succeeding at one point, but that would have drove me absolutely insane. But probably would have gone too extreme with it also. But I think, again, it's all about balance. I think when you find a balance, it's really, really important for us. Right, so after all of that, do you think that people can actually have a healthy balance in life, a healthy work-life balance or school-life balance or sport-life balance, or do you think it's so tough that it's probably unattainable?
I think it's definitely attainable, but it goes back to how you're thinking, and it goes back to how you react to things, and if you're aware of them or not. Because if you're not aware of them, as you probably see daily, it runs the show. Like, how you think it follows on to everything.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's definitely attainable. Is it easy? No. And I think it's definitely something that I probably would struggle with at times, but then at other times I think, like, I would consider myself and Greg able to manage very high levels of stress because we're busy. Life is busy. Loads of people are busy, but do you ever see the man in your local town or woman in your local town and they have the simplest job ever? Could be literally just cutting the grass for your local team or something like that. You know, like you see them on the FOSS schemes and stuff, they literally just cut the grass. Or they could be just sweeping the streets. But if you ever see those people in your town and they're actually really happy, and sometimes I would be curious and I'd wonder, I go, there's something in that as well of just being simple. Why does it always have to be complicated? Probably doesn't have to be. I wouldn't think so. But there's also an element where if it's too simple, you get bored. So then it goes back to your spiral. You don't want to be bored, but you want to be optimistic and you want to be happy and live in that place of joy. So cutting the grass might do it for you, or it might be coaching, or it might be whatever it is. But I think it's
identifying that. Just seeing, can I have a level of self-awareness around myself to know, right, I'm dealing with high stress at the moment. Can I step back and can I go towards those things that are my outlets, whether it be sport or whether it be whatever it may be, meditating for some people, journaling for other people, getting a walk in. That's the first thing. That's actually the very first thing that I tell someone. Find an outlet. If you don't have one, find one. Try new things.
And that's any age, isn't it?
Any age. Find an outlet and absolutely run with it. Whenever you have a high level of stress, because a lot of people do feel stress, anxiety, depression, sadness, anything around those kind of things. Just have a look and see, can you try something, whether it be a class down the road, whether it be a walk outside, some form of an outlet. It has a massive, massive impact.
How would you push someone to find that thing though? How would you get creative with that now? So something for example now, I said to a guy the other day was he's sick and he can't drink anymore, and he used to love the social aspect of just going for a pint. Like he wasn't an alcoholic, he wasn't a drinker, but he would love just the social aspect of being in the pub. Or he loved whiskey, saying, so there's something in the whiskey. It mightn't be that you can't drink it anymore because of your health, but why don't you just suss it out and get creative with it? Can I get into that business, or maybe can I do something along those lines? And just go get creative with it. That's what I would do. But is there anything you would think?
What else you can do with it? Just looking for what you actually want to get from it. Sometimes, and like we would have had this a lot, that all the lads are going out at the weekend and I have a match in the morning or I have work in the morning, and it's right, I want the experience, I want to take something from it without the negative without the negative attached. So it's seeing, right, if it's a person that's fond of a drink and fond of the social experience, right, can you get into the social experience? Actually, to reference 50 Cent's book, 50 Cent used to go out into the clubs, and that's obviously where he done his kind of scouting, what are the crowd enjoying the music, that kind of stuff. And he'd have ginger ale, but he'd put it into a bottle of champagne or something like that. But just to have the feeling that you're having that drink and you're in the environment, that you can take something from it without the negative, it's very interesting.
It is, yeah. It's like just being so aware of your surroundings and just the things you like. It might be the simplest thing ever, like I said, cutting the grass. I remember getting told this story, I think I told you this the other day, about this guy. he wasn't drinking in the morning. He went out with his friends. I don't know, it was a birthday party or something like that. He wasn't drinking. They all asked him why he wasn't drinking. I'm cutting the grass in the morning for the club. They're like, you're only cutting the grass, man. Like, you're sitting up on a lawnmower. It's not hard to do. But that same fella went on, and I looked this up just to reference the story because I thought it was a load of canny, but it was true. He went on, and he was one of the biggest contracts with a couple of the Premier League clubs, cutting their pitches and so on. So it could be as simple as cutting grass, that you go and run with that, and your passion becomes your business. And
It's your outlet, isn't it?
It's your
That was
outlet.
his
Then.
outlet. He got the positive side of the social, and he was able to step back and say, "No, I'm good. Like, I've something to do in the morning."
Smell of the cut.
That's nice. I like that.
The smell of the cutting the grass could literally get him in the flow state.
Yeah.
Could be absolutely anything. So
But again, that's, as you said, simple.
it could be simple,
Yeah.
but
Reading's another one.
reading's a
reading.
massive one. You might be good at writing. You might be good at talking. You might start a podcast. You might become a lot better than we are at it. But whatever it may be, it's just so it's sparking ideas in your head to get creative. And when you're creative, then the world's your oyster. There's no limit. So guys, to take home after all that information, right? Realize what type of character are you? Okay, are you a cortisol individual or are you an adrenaline individual? Okay, look at your circle. Okay, realize what emotions you are feeling. Okay, between the love to the peace and tranquility, all through them. Okay, then realize, what am I going to actually do about it? Am I going to take action? Okay, what stage am I at? Am I bored in life? And so on. And then I want you to look at your circle. When you look at your circle, are you ruthless enough to take that leap that I'm going to say no to one or two friends or so on if I have to? And then we look at, how am I going to overcome that? How am I really going to improve my life? Because I want to feel better in my life. I want to improve the people around me in my circle to really help people.
Cool. I think a couple of the take-home points for me are just reduce your screen time. Little task for you to do for the next day. Delete one person that you do not need to follow on social media. That'll become a habit of, why am I following this fella? Be more conscious. Be more conscious about what you're doing. Where am I spending my time? Have I 6 hours on my phone today and I'm looking at just a lot of things that I really don't need to be doing? Another thing is to be present, be in the moment, stop living in the past. Start to look forward. Start to think about the things that make you excited and release those positive endorphins in your body. And yeah, I think they're the main things. Like, another one, just break things down to its simplest form and stop comparing yourself to other people, and just start to get into a habit of looking at the positive side of stuff. Try your best and say, because you said it the last day about going a whole day without being negative.
Yeah.
It's very, very tough. And
It's
it
not that
might
easy.
just be a comment off to someone. But yeah, look, we'll end it there, lads. I hope you took something from that. We'd love to hear any feedback. And again, as I said at the start, we'll put up a Q&A. If there's any topics, if there's any people you think we should get on, if there's absolutely any feedback, we'd love to hear it. All right? See you in the next one.